the jellyfish that cannot die, and what it means for human aging. Scientists have been searching for the secret to immortality for thousands of years. Kings, pharaohs, billionaires, all obsessed with one question: can we live forever? But here's the thing. Nature already solved this problem, quietly, in the ocean, in something so small you could fit dozens of them on your fingernail. This is the immortal jellyfish, and what it can do should not be possible. Its scientific name is Turritopsis dohrnii. Most people have never heard of it, but among marine biologists, it's legendary. It was first discovered in the Mediterranean Sea in 1883, but for over 100 years, nobody paid much attention to it. It looked like just another tiny jellyfish, about the size of a pinky fingernail, completely transparent, with a bright red stomach you can see right through its body. But in the 1990s, a group of researchers in Italy noticed something strange, something that broke every rule biology had ever written. The jellyfish wasn't dying. Not because it was healthy, not because conditions were perfect, but because when it got old, it simply reset itself. Like hitting Control-Z on aging, like turning back time inside its own body. And that changed everything. To understand what makes this creature so extraordinary, you need to understand one thing about biology. Every living thing on Earth goes through a life cycle. You're born, you grow, you age, you die. That's the rule. It applies to bacteria, trees, elephants, and every human being who has ever lived. But Turritopsis dohrnii found a loophole. Here's what happens. The jellyfish starts its life as a tiny larva called a planula. It sinks to the ocean floor and transforms into a polyp, which looks like a tiny flower attached to a rock. Then it buds off into a juvenile jellyfish, grows into an adult, reproduces, and at that point, in every other species, the story ends. But in Turritopsis dohrnii, when the adult jellyfish gets old or sick or physically damaged, instead of dying, it sinks back down, and it reverts completely. Back to the polyp stage. The adult cells, fully mature, specialized cells, transform into entirely different types of cells. Muscle cells become nerve cells, skin cells become muscle cells. The whole biological identity of the organism reshapes itself from scratch. Scientists call this process transdifferentiation, and it is, without exaggeration, one of the most bizarre things ever observed in nature. Here's an analogy to make it real. Imagine you're 70 years old. Your body starts to slow down, and instead of dying, your cells decide to rewind, your wrinkles disappear, your organs rebuild, your memories erase, and you wake up as a newborn baby, ready to live your entire life again. That's what this jellyfish does, except it can do it infinite times. When scientists fully confirmed this ability in the late 1990s, the biological world went quiet for a second. Because what Turritopsis dohrnii does isn't just weird, it's theoretically impossible under the rules we thought governed all life. In most organisms, once a cell becomes specialized, once it becomes a heart cell or a brain cell or a skin cell, it stays that way. That's called cell differentiation, and biologists considered it a one-way door. This jellyfish walks back through that door, repeatedly, with no apparent limit. Researchers at the University of Oviedo in Spain spent years mapping the genome of Turritopsis dohrnii. What they found in 2022 was stunning. Compared to its closest immortal adjacent relative, this jellyfish had significant differences in genes related to DNA repair, cell cycle regulation, stem cell renewal, and telomere maintenance. Now here's why that matters for you specifically. Human aging is largely driven by telomere shortening. Every time your cells divide, the protective caps on your DNA, the telomeres, get slightly shorter. When they run out, the cell can no longer divide properly. It either dies or becomes what scientists call a zombie cell, a senescent cell that causes inflammation and accelerates aging in surrounding tissue. Turritopsis dohrnii appears to not have this problem. Its telomere maintenance genes are highly active. Its DNA repair mechanisms are unusually powerful. It essentially has a biological reset button built into its genome. If we could understand how that button works and replicate even part of it in human biology, the implications would be staggering. We're not talking science fiction. Labs around the world are actively studying this animal right now as a direct reference point for anti-aging research. Now, before you start thinking this jellyfish has cracked the code of eternal life, let's be precise about what immortality actually means here. Turritopsis dohrnii is biologically immortal. That means it does not age in the way we understand aging. It can theoretically reset its life cycle an unlimited number of times, but it is absolutely not indestructible. It can be eaten by a fish, it can be killed by pollution, it can be destroyed by sudden temperature changes or disease or simply bad luck in the ocean. Biological immortality means freedom from senescence, from aging death. It does not mean freedom from the world. Think of it like this. If humans stopped aging tomorrow, we'd still get into car accidents, we'd still get infections, we'd still face the physical dangers of the world. Aging just wouldn't be one of them. And there's another layer to this story that most people don't talk about. Because this jellyfish is so small and so resilient, it is spread across the entire world's oceans, almost entirely by hitchhiking in the ballast water of cargo ships. Ships take on seawater as ballast in one port and release it in another, carrying the jellyfish and their larvae to entirely new ecosystems. Turritopsis dohrnii is now considered a global invasive species. It has colonized oceans it was never supposed to reach. And because it can reset its life cycle under stress, the exact conditions that would kill most invasive species, it's essentially impossible to remove. The animal that cheats death is also the animal that science can't stop. So let's zoom out for a second. We live in a world where billions of dollars are being poured into longevity research. Tech founders are funding anti-aging startups. Scientists are experimenting with gene therapies, senolytics, and NAD+ supplements, all in the pursuit of extending human health span. And sitting quietly in the Mediterranean Sea is a 2-millimeter jellyfish that has been doing all of this, biologically, for millions of years. It didn't need a lab. It didn't need funding. Evolution handed it a mechanism so elegant that our most advanced technology is still trying to reverse engineer it. The 2022 genome study wasn't just a biology paper, it was a blueprint, a starting point. Researchers now have a direct genetic comparison between an immortal organism and its mortal relatives. They can pinpoint, gene by gene, what makes the difference between a life that ends and a life that resets. We're not at the point where that translates to a human treatment, but the roadmap now exists in a way it never did before. And the most humbling part of all of this? We almost missed it entirely. For over a century, this creature lived in plain sight, collected, cataloged, and ignored. It took one very observant researcher noticing that the jellyfish in the tank wasn't dying to unlock what might be one of the most significant biological discoveries in history. The ocean is 71% of this planet's surface. We've explored less than 25% of it. Turritopsis dohrnii was hiding in the part we had explored. What else is down there? If an animal this small can rewrite the rules of life and death, imagine what's waiting in the parts of the ocean we haven't touched yet. Subscribe if you want to find out. Every week we go deep into the science of creatures that shouldn't exist, but do. And if this video made you think, share it with someone who needs to know that nature is still the most advanced technology on the planet. See you in the next one.